Welcome to the Action Network studio in New York City. I'm Maria Marino, and this is Green Dot Daily. We're live every weekday at 3 Eastern on the Action app. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe. Coming up on the show, we'll have NBA picks and analysis from Jay Money and Bryan Fonseca. We'll also dive into all the NFL storylines and how to handle Cowboys-Bills here in Week 15 with Chad Millman and Simon Hunter. But we start with bad beats from Week 14. And in a game, the Falcons were projected to win handily. Buccaneers scored a touchdown with 31 seconds left. The Steelers were also expected to beat the Patriots, but then the Pats had their biggest scoring output in 5 games. And finally, the Chargers should have been more competitive against the Broncos, but Justin Herbert broke his finger in the first half. He'll now reportedly miss the rest of the season. With that, we welcome in predictive analyst Nick Giffen, who keeps track of our Action Network luck rankings every week. And just as a refresher, you use the actual versus expected scores to generate luck percentage, which helps you find value in the marketplace. So which games do you like this week coming up?
Yeah, we're going to go right to a luck matchup. And this one is the New Orleans Saints versus the New York Giants. Right now, the Saints -6. They're the unlucky team in this matchup with a luck difference of 25. They're ranked 31st in our luck rankings. New York Giants are ranked 6th. And a luck gap of 29.6%. Unlucky teams, I should say, with a luck difference of at least 24 places are 55, 37, and 4 against the spread over the last 6 years. However, home teams, which of course New Orleans is here, just 27, 24, and 2, which is 52.8%, which is barely enough to just cover that -110 juice. So not a strong signal here at all on this one. And I especially am not a huge fan of this one after the Giants were actually a bit unlucky last night to not beat Green Bay by even more. While New Orleans was a little bit lucky against Carolina, they won by a little bit more than expected. So I think this is a spot where it's tough to kind of back the Saints at -6. Maybe when they had opened at -4.5, that was a better number there. But right now, I think at this point, the luck matchup here is probably just a pass.
Yeah, all of a sudden the Giants have won 3 in a row. This game obviously means something in the playoff race, funny enough, because the NFC South is just so jumbled. You have 3 6 and 7 teams. So a very, very interesting spot there for the Saints. How about in terms of a total? Does anything from your data jump out?
Yeah, this one's a fun one. We have a ugly luck over for the Los Angeles Chargers at the Las Vegas Raiders on Thursday Night Football. This has a luck total of +5.2. Luck totals of +5 or more after week 11 are 34, 18, and 1, which is just over 65% to the over in the last 6 years, including 4-1 to the over this year, and 3-0 to the over when the luck overs have been a primetime game, including 2 of those on Thursday Night Football. Last week, remember, the Steelers and Patriots were a luck over when everybody was on the under, and it went over. So that one felt good to hit there. I've gotten a lot of questions about, of course, Justin Herbert's injury. Easton Stick going to be the quarterback for the Chargers, but this doesn't really impact this because the books are already accounting for that with such a low total around 33 to 34. It's been bouncing around in there. You know, if Justin Herbert was healthy and not injured, this would be much closer to 40. So, you know, books are accounting for that. It's just, you know, I think the public is down on these teams based off what's happened recently. Over 90% of the tickets and 90% of the money coming in on the under. So it might be time to fade the public for the second straight Thursday Night Football game on these unders and take the over here. These teams, in their last 3 games each, they have averaged just 8.8 points scored. That's abysmal, but they have had 13.3 expected points scored, which is a difference of 4.5. And defensively, they've allowed 16.3 points per game on average in those last 3 versus 20.3 expected. So that's a difference of 4. So you add those 4 and 4.5, that's 8.5 points. These games are coming in more than a touchdown under expectation in each of the team's last 3 games. And we see that kind of trend. The over does tend to hit at a pretty high rate. This fell as low as 33 for bouncing up back to 33 and a half, 34 at some spots. So, maybe there'll be enough resistance there at 33 where if you see a 33 and a half or a 33 again, probably want to snap that up. I haven't bet it yet myself, but I'm definitely going to be looking to take the over at some point prior to kickoff.
Okay, so what number do you want to see before where do you want to see it move to before you bet this?
Yeah, we've got mostly 34s on the board, a couple 33 and a half. So I'm fine taking the 33 and a half because 34 is a key number. 33 is also a key number. So if we can get a 33, that'd be huge to get that. But it's one of those things where we may not see that 33 again. It got down to 33 in a few places and immediately got pushed back up, not only to 33 and a half, but 34. So I think, if we see a 33 and a half minus 110 juice, I'll probably end up taking that prior to kickoff.
Sounds good. I think the best piece of advice I could give is to follow you in the Action app at RotoDoc, and that way you'll get an alert when Nick does put this bet in. So I would definitely do that if you haven't yet. Nick Giffen, thank you so much.
Anytime.
To me, if you're looking for value at the top right now, I would go with Dak. It's all set up for the Cowboys this year. They have the team, they have the schedule, it's lining up for them.
That is not a difficult schedule to run the table and put yourself in even better position as a candidate for MVP. Give me Brock Purdy. Simon and I are already on Christian McCaffrey, I think, at 25-1. So, we'll take either one.
All right, Chad Millman and Simon Hunter joining me now. So when you gave that advice, Dak Prescott was at plus 750, Brock Purdy at plus 1600 now. Dak is the favorite to win MVP, Brock Purdy just behind him. So thoughts at this point, Simon, on who will win?
I would still give the slight edge to Dak just because it's such a narrative award where I think the questions about Purdy and the reason he's succeeding this year is mainly based on the team, the offense he plays in. And we saw last year, Jalen Hurts had the same questions, right? He had so much talent around him. People said it was just scheme. They're saying the same thing with Purdy. This year with Dak, there's no question it's really Dak, right? It's like they whatever McCarthy's done, he's way lower on turning the ball over. He doesn't put his team in bad positions like he used to. A couple times this season, his team's been down, and Dak has played well when they've been down. And, old Dak would just have these bad games. He'd be inconsistent. He only had that one really bad game against Arizona early in the season. These last couple weeks, he's played really well. So I could see why Dak is favorite. I just would not be making that bet right now.
Yeah, if you were going to make the bet, you should have done it when you gave that advice 2 weeks ago. But Chad, seeing the Dolphins losing as a 14-point favorite last night, largely without Tyreek Hill, obviously injured in the first quarter, is Tyreek more valuable than Tua to Miami?
Well, look, if you look at the betting boards, his odds have jumped to about 20-1, whereas Tua is down to 25-1. And then if you look at what happens on the field, you have to say yes. Before Tyreek Hill joined the Dolphins, Tua was on the road to being considered a bust, and people were wondering, should they have gotten rid of him? Since they got Tyreek Hill, all of a sudden, Tua is a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback, and the Dolphins are one of the best offenses in history, right up until Tyreek Hill goes down with an ankle injury. And then it's a team that can't hold a lead against a really bad Tennessee Titans team. So you have to look at it and say, wait a second, what's the key factor here? Oh, yeah, it's Tyreek Hill, who is so fast he can take the top off of the defense. So, yes, Tyreek Hill is more valuable than Tua.
And if you remember, Tua had the shortest MVP odds way back in weeks 3 and 4. But all of this sets up a huge game coming up. Cowboys at Bills. Bills laying the points. Simon, the Bills, by the way, are plus 310 to win the AFC East right now. Do you like them Sunday? And how does that correlate with a potential division bet?
Yeah, let's just go all in on the Bills, right? There's so many interconnecting bets you can make right now. And, one that really jumps out, Josh Allen, 20-1. That's great value right now if you're looking at how their schedule sets up. That they played Dallas this week, which I love. The Bills and playing Dallas after a huge emotional win for Dallas. Now going on the road in a game that's just a bad spot for them. They're really an indoor team. And now they're outdoors against a desperate Josh Allen team. And if you look how their schedule plays out, they have, this game here, this Buffalo team, this is probably their toughest game against Dallas, and they end the season with Miami. And in between there, they have the Chargers with Stick and New England Patriots, who are tanking for a draft pick. So it really does set up for them to win this division. It sets up for them to play Miami in the final week. That could end up, mattering for this division. And the Josh Allen stuff, 20-1, it's really, I feel like it's stretched out because he has so many turnovers. But if you look at, he's leading the league in a lot of other categories, which is touchdowns. And if you switch in with anyone else from that team, would the Bills be in the position they're in now to make this playoff run and be potentially 11-6 when all the dust settles? So, yeah, 20-1. I love that value on the Bills. And if you're betting this week, keep riding it. Bet them for divisional. Bet it all. If you really think they're going to beat Dallas this week, there's 3 bets you could tie in all together that I think by the final week of the season you'll be able to hedge out and have a profitable play.
Amazing how quickly things can turn in the NFL. And so there are 4 teams that are 10-3, 3 of them in the NFC, Cowboys, Eagles, and 49ers, plus the Ravens in the AFC. So Chad, which 10-3 team has the best chance of actually winning the Super Bowl?
Before we get to that, since we're going into the Wayback Machine and bringing back clips from when Simon and I looked so prescient, I'm going to say this now. I want everyone in the control room to be ready to clip this when the Buffalo Bills beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC title game, and they are playing the now 10-3 and likely to get to the Super Bowl San Francisco 49ers. The clip that everybody is going to run is going to be Josh Allen falling out of bounds, getting rid of that pass to Latavius Murray against the Chiefs. It would become iconic. Clip it, print it, get ready to run it Super Bowl week. It's the Niners at 10-3. Right now, they are the most complete team. We talked about Brock Purdy at the start of the show in this segment. He has been good because they have an incredible dominant left tackle in Trent Williams, a multidimensional player in Deebo Samuel, a dominant touchdown machine in Christian McCaffrey, and now they have a defensive line and a defensive backfield that can really do whatever it needs to do against any kind of offense. So it's the Niners.
Mic drop for Chad Millman and Simon Hunter. Guys, thanks so much for joining Green Dot Daily. To the NBA, Victor Wembanyama was minus 180 to record a double-double last night and did so with another gem, 15 points, 18 rebounds, plus 5 blocks. But the Spurs fell to the Rockets 93-82. That's a franchise record 17-game losing streak for San Antonio. Coming off a blowout loss to the Lakers, in which Zion Williamson only scored 13, he redeemed himself with a season-high 36 points Monday in a win against the NBA's best team, the Timberwolves. Zion was well over his points total of 20.5. And Knicks with a win and cover yesterday over Toronto. Julius Randle scored 34, and if you bet his points over, you won by the hook. It was New York's first game without Mitchell Robinson, who will have ankle surgery and miss the next 8 weeks. Let's welcome in Jay Money, as well as Bryan Fonseca, who's joining me here in studio. Bryan, last time you were on the show, you bet a Jalen Brunson points over, sorry to say. It missed by 3 or 4 points, and that's when Julius Randle scored 41 in a loss to the Bucks. So what is your issue with Randle leading the team in scoring?
Julius Randle needs to relax. All right, I had Jalen Brunson over. It was 25.5. There was some movement, brought it to 27.5. Still liked it, and of course he finished at 24. He shot 0 of 5 from 3. It happens. But what really did me in was Julius Randle went crazy in the third quarter, not from a point standpoint, but just crazy in terms of basketball, where he would take the ball down the court, and as Milwaukee was getting hot from 3, was basically taking Giannis on one-on-one, settling for contested 2-point shots as Milwaukee would continue to mount the lead because they got hot from 3. Jalen Brunson has been under in 4 straight games, and Julius Randle, I just want to bet Jalen Brunson overs. So if you could relax for a little bit, that would be very nice so that we can get back to doing that. But in all seriousness, I think Jalen Brunson, he's had a great season so far. Julius Randle sort of taking the offensive mantle now, and I wonder what that means for other players on the Knicks moving forward, because you have Jalen Brunson starting to get under. Emmanuel quickly somewhat disappeared. He was injured and missed last game. And RJ Barrett's coming along, but you don't really know what to do with the rest of their roster right now. So if you want to bet an over on anyone on the Knicks roster other than Julius Randle, just think a couple times before you do that.
Jay Money, what's your take on this and sort of the greater implications for the Knicks to be able to have success?
Yeah, I'm right there with Bryan. Randall needs to take a back seat, man. I'm starting to think that they need to send him to the Wizards or the Hornets, somewhere where he can be the best player on the team, because that's what he wants. It's almost like he doesn't even care about being a team guy. Now, we all saw him being very visibly frustrated with Brunson earlier in the year, like not passing him the ball or not passing it to him, basically. But the Knicks are their best when Brunson's the QB. We saw it when he was in Dallas, and we saw it last year with the Knicks as well. That's why they kicked the Cavs out of the playoffs there. So Randall just has to take the back seat and realize that Brunson is the quarterback of the team, and that's when they're going to be at their best, not while he's scoring 40 points. So send him to the Wizards or somewhere, man.
Whoa, ouch. Poor Randall, getting no love. By the way, Jalen Brunson still technically leads the team in scoring at 24.6 a game by a slim margin. Let's move on, though. Looking at the slate tonight, Clippers host the Kings. Clips have won 4 straight, 5 of 6. So, Jay, thoughts on them since the James Harden trade?
Yeah, they've looked really good. They've won 4 straight games, like you said. They're starting to build some chemistry together, and it's showing on the court here finally. So, as I always said, Harden, he has to be aggressive. He has to be like a point guard and pass the ball, but he also has to be aggressive, because when you have a big three out there like Harden, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard, you can't double any one of these guys. So it's really hard for opposing defenses to try to stop all 3 of them while they're on the court together, and you can mix and match the matchups as well. So I'm actually leaning towards the Clippers in the first half in this game tonight versus the Kings. Kind of waiting to see how the line settles or whatever, but I lean Clippers to keep it going here once again tonight, and they didn't have to travel anywhere, so I lean towards their way in the first half.
Well, I'm just glad that we're talking about this, Bryan, because I feel like we heard a lot of chirping when Harden was traded and the Clippers were doing poorly, and now that we're doing well, I don't hear much. I don't hear much. So, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I think they're an interesting team from the standpoint of could they actually break through and be what some teams think they could be, because from a playoff standpoint, they're minus 200 to make the playoffs. We know that. But to come out of the Western Conference, they have the 4th shortest odds right now as of the time we're talking about this. They're in that sort of plus 900 range to win the Western Conference. It's not something that I would do necessarily, but I do think that you can talk yourself into it because they have the firepower, they have some pieces. I still think they can do more with their depth. They can figure out some things between now and the trade deadline to potentially make moves and really fortify that team, because that would be my concern. It's not necessarily there's only one ball or whatever the case may be. It's really about, can you strengthen the team in the event that somebody goes down? Because you have 4 high-profile guys, all of them, have had long careers in this league, injury histories, etc. So can you sort of talk yourself into this Clipper team as presently constructed long-term? I'm not sure, but I am banking on them being aggressive between now and February, a couple months to get that done, because Steve Ballmer obviously wants to try to deliver the Clippers fans a ring, because they're a high-profile team, high-profile organization, and business-wise, this is something that he seems to want.
Right up there in the conversation in the West with Denver, the Suns, the Lakers. And speaking of, the newly crowned in-season tournament champion Lakers are taking on the Mavericks tonight. You both have picks in this game. Jay, I'll start with you and your pick.
Yeah, I like the Mavs in this game. The line is moving all over the place right now. We know Luka, right before the show here, he's listed as questionable, and it's just so unfair because I do my YouTube show, and then all of this stuff starts to happen. It's like I'm talking about all these things, but whatever. I think regardless, I don't care who plays in this one. This is a major letdown spot for the Lakers, in my opinion. I mean, this is the first time we've ever had the in-season tournament, right? So we don't know how these teams that won the championship are going to come off. But, I mean, they just got a $500,000 bonus in season. Like, I mean, these guys are going out and party, and I kind of know for a fact that they went out and party, but that's a whole nother conversation. But they are coming off a championship celebration in Vegas, and the Mavs just schematically as well versus the Lakers. For whatever reason, they've owned this team of late. They're 8-2 versus them straight up in the full game, but they're 4-0 straight up in the first half in their last 4 meetings, and 7-1 straight up in the first half in the last 8 meetings as well. So this is a national TV game on TNT. I'm hoping that at least Luka could play. I do think that Grant Williams is off the injury report. They should get Tim Hardaway Jr. back as well, but I'm really hoping that Luka plays in this game. But there's also a possibility of LeBron and AD not playing as well. So personally, I'd wait until the last minute to see exactly who's playing. I mean, this is the NBA, but I think regardless, this is a spot play here. This is a bet against the Lakers. I don't care who they were playing in this spot. My gut tells me that I need to fade them coming off an in-season tournament championship.
Bryan, why did this game stand out to you?
Because of all the things that Jay said, we're like, we don't know who's gonna play. Like, as much of a sicko as I am, like, I love basketball, but like, I'm about to watch Dante Exum play for 38 minutes tonight, you know, and I think that's gonna be like what I'm looking forward to. But to me, I went under 234. It's now at 232.5, and I'm still probably going to play the under. Again, especially if there's going to be, you know, now there's a game time decision with Luka Doncic. We'll see what happens with LeBron and Anthony Davis. And, you know, the Lakers do have a 2-day rest advantage, but they're not as good off rest as you would think this year. They're minus 6.3 margin of victory with the rest advantage this year, 1-2 straight up, minus 3.8 margin of victory with 2 to 3 days off just in general, and they're 2-2. And Dallas, a little bit better. Given the circumstances. I don't really have a pick as to who I think is going to win. I went to sleep thinking Lakers minus 1.5 felt good. Then I woke up, looked at some deeper numbers, and I was like, yeah, I don't know if this is going to be the case. And now I don't even know who's playing. So we're going to roll with the under because that's what I feel best about tonight.
I think that's a safe way to go. Jay, I think you might get in on that.
Yeah, I couldn't talk him off the under here. I mean, I need to see what's up with Anthony Davis because he's definitely like a defensive player of the year candidate. But if Luka's not going to play, I mean, the Mavs offense will not look fluent at all, especially without Kyrie.
Indeed. All right, Bryan Fonseca, J Money, thanks so much for joining the show.
Absolutely.
Anytime.
Hey everybody, it's Joe Delera, and I've got a couple of my favorite plays for this Tuesday NBA slate. I'm going to start off with a spread pick, and I like the Phoenix Suns -3 against the Golden State Warriors. The Suns' big three hopefully makes their debut tonight in the regular season, but Kevin Durant's status is a bit in flux as he's listed as questionable. Either way, this should be an exciting game. When we look at the Phoenix Suns, they've been dominant when their stars are on the floor. And with the addition of Bradley Beal, this offense should only get more potent. And honestly, as long as Devin Booker's been on the floor, this team is a plus 14 in terms of their on-off court differential. So I love this game for the Suns as long as Devin Booker is playing, which he is. And I'm comfortable laying the 3 points with the Suns at home. And if Kevin Durant's formally ruled in, I'll just be really happy that I got this as Suns within one possession. So I'm going to grab the Suns at -3. For my next play, I'm looking at Jason Tatum over 25.5 points against the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Celtics are facing the Cavs, who are playing in the second game of a back-to-back set, and they were without one of their defensive anchors, Evan Mobley, on Monday night due to left knee soreness, so his status is also uncertain for today's matchup against the Boston Celtics. Tatum is averaging 27.5 points per game this season, and he's exceeded this line in 57% of games. Additionally, he should come out firing as the Celtics haven't played since last Friday. So there's a little bit of extra rest for him. And when he's played on 3 days of rest or more, he's cleared this line in 5 of 7 games over the last 2 seasons. Stylistically, I like the spot for Tatum. Not only is he able to stretch the floor with his 3-point shooting ability, but he's also able to put pressure on the rim to make it difficult for the Cavs to stop him at any level of his attack. I like him to go over 25.5 points. Finally, I'm looking at Nikola Jokic over 9.5 assists against the Chicago Bulls. This is a back-to-back set for both teams, but for the Nuggets, it's a little bit more important considering the fact that Jamal Murray is likely to sit given his injury history and the way that they've managed his injury. So I want to get in on this line now. One player that's really risen to the challenge when Murray has sat has been Jokic, and he's seen his stats rise across the board with 29.6 points, 13 rebounds, and 10.5 assists per game. And those numbers have been monstrous. He's averaging a triple-double without Murray. I like to target his assists in this matchup against Nikola Vucevic in particular, though, because over the last 3 seasons, Jokic is averaging a triple-double against Vucevic across 4 games. The scoring has come down a bit, but he's still averaging 11.5 rebounds and 11.5 assists per game. Vooch, he's not necessarily the best defender, but what he's been able to do is disrupt Jokic's scoring just enough that he winds up being a little bit more of a facilitator and distributing to the rest of his teammates. Couple that with the probability of Murray missing, and this sets up for a great opportunity for Jokic to dish out some more dimes. So I like him to go over 9.5 assists. To recap, my 3 favorite plays for the NBA slate are the Suns -3, Jason Tatum over 25.5 points, and Nikola Jokic over 9.5 assists. Best of luck on your wagers today, and enjoy the rest of your Tuesdays.
Remember, any picks we give out here on the show, you can easily reference by following green.daily in the Action app. We keep track so you don't have to. That's going to do it for Green.Daily. I'm Maria Marino. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again tomorrow at 3 Eastern on the Action Network YouTube channel and the Action app.